But let's start with just the idea for Hazel and kind of what was behind it. What set the stage in your recollection? Because it was many months ago.
Yeah, well,
it wasn't first let's do something scary.
There
let's
was
do something for Halloween.
There was a conversation that was going on in the background, which is, as we've established, and we actually did a whole episode about it earlier this year, where we talked about all the other things that we have worked on that you've never seen, because they're ideas that are developed for television or movies, that it's a whole different process outside of the digital media that we kind of own and control, which is the thing that you're watching right now, which we don't have to ask permission to make this podcast. No one has to approve it.
Yeah, those things where you're writing scripts and trying to get traditional stuff off the ground, it's a long time coming, and then it may never show up. No one may ever see it, and that's very frustrating for us.
Even right now, just so you know, right now, we're in the midst of working on a couple of very exciting projects. I'll just go ahead and say, we've got multiple TV shows that we've tried to get off the ground and continue to try to get off the ground, but there's another pilot that we have completed, and now there's a feature script, a whole movie that we are beginning to write. And so these are things that we are passionate about, and it's a fun process, and we throw ourselves creatively at them, and hopefully one or multiple of them will be able to be made. And I think when you look at the sort of the pie chart of our time, when you wonder what do Rhett&Link do? What do they do besides the things that I see them do? Mm-hmm. There's a big piece of the pie that's doesn't result in things that you see. So, because it's frustrating, right? It's frustrating to kind of pour yourself into something. So the conversation sort of shifted to a place where it's like, okay, yes, we've got all this stuff we're trying to do that may never get seen. We've got all this stuff that we already do that does get seen on a regular basis. But is there an in-between? Can we put one more thing on our plate, which is the in-between, which is stuff that has a high sort of creative, experimental quotient, trying something new that is more narrative maybe in its description? Is there a place for us to do that?
Because we're developing this narrative content.
Yeah.
How do we do some of that people can actually see?
And also do it in a very self-contained, frankly, cheap way that doesn't take a lot of our time and doesn't take a lot of money.
And also then is structured so that it makes us part of a different conversation. If you're an avid listener of Ear Biscuits, if you're a dedicated viewer of Good Mythical Morning, if you're a fan of Mythical Kitchen, you can get involved in those worlds and just kind of stay there. We're grappling with the challenge of continuing to find ways to reach out and introduce more people to the world of mythical and the things that we're doing. People have an idea of and an awareness of Good Mythical Morning, and they may dip in and out of it, but we also want to do things that continue to remind people, hey, we've still got ideas, and we want to make things that express ourselves and also make us part of new conversations and introduce us to new mythical beasts.
And I think above all, for both of us, there's a creative passion that we don't want to, because again,
you don't want to sit on your hands.
You can just be
rest on your laurel.
Yes, we're the guys who eat weird things on the internet and do things, and you kind of see us in the context of our friendship. Maybe that could be enough for a lot of people. For us, I don't think it is, because it's like we got things that we want to create. We got worlds that we want to bring out. So then the discussion started what does that look like? Because we've had a number of people, including TV executives, who say things like, guys, if you have an idea for something, why don't you just make it and put it on YouTube, right? And I think there's a number of reasons why we've been hesitant to do that when it comes to narrative stuff, besides just an occasional sketch or whatever, which we're not really doing that much on YouTube anymore. The reason being—
But we are doing on TikTok, and we'll talk about that later.
The reason being is that with few exceptions, people are not really interacting with narrative content on YouTube in in a meaningful way, right? And you can be like, well, you guys could change that, but it's like, that's a tough hill to climb. What we were seeing is that, you know what? Kind of in an early sort of YouTube way, this early stage of TikTok, one of the things that's happening is sketch comedy, just to use a broad term, has sort of found a resurgence in this place. Like scripted comedy has found a home on TikTok, and all of a sudden, our kids are engaging with it in a way that they are not engaging with YouTube.
In a way that's much more broad than if you were to apply that same statement of sketch comedy to Vine back in the day.
Yeah.
I never observed, maybe I missed it, because we never got on the Vine bandwagon. I never observed a type of sketch that I wanted to do. It was very short and very tonally specific. And there's a broad range of content. I mean, there's all niches now seem to exist on TikTok. I mean, spiritual deconstruction TikTok, as an example.
And Christian TikTok.
Oh yeah, I mean, you name it, it's all happening there. And so there's like, it can meld into the world of podcasting, it can meld into the world of sketch comedy, it can meld into of course, the world of dance.
Well, and I was doing some
avant-garde shit, so all types of stuff.
I don't remember, so I was kind of thinking, I was sitting there trying to figure out like, okay, is there a way in for us that kind of makes it, I mean, honestly, it was from a strategy standpoint in terms of, yeah, we could do something that is just straight up comedy, like classic Rhett&Link sketch in a narrative fashion. As you see, and we'll talk about later, we are doing classic Rhett&Link sketch sort of individually on TikTok and learning a lot over there. But like, we want to do something that's more eventized and get people to kind of drawn in. I think kind of separately from that, I just happen to, because I'm personally interested in horror, right? I'm a horror fan, and I kind of keep up with what's happening in that world. But typically it's just movies. I watch horror movies, and then I watch some horror TV shows, but mostly horror movies. And I saw this article about horror TikTok, but it was also like horror TikTok, horror Instagram. And what I saw is that, okay, first of all, there's that, I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago, there was maybe just a year ago, there was a Twitter thread where it was a writer who has said that they were going to a cabin in the woods to write a movie. And they were like, oh, there's something making noise outside. And it was a Twitter thread. Turns out that the whole thing from the beginning was designed to be, it was designed to become a movie or designed to be a story. It was all made up to begin with. And
it was narrative.
It was a narrative, and I don't know if that one
tricked you.
I don't know if that one ended up becoming something, but there's been multiple Twitter threads, not just horror Twitter threads, but Instagram things, and now TikTok stuff that is either it's intended to live there first and then become something bigger. But then on TikTok, what I was seeing is that a lot of people were doing. There's like this one kid who did. I use kid like a teenager. Did a thing last year where they had they were acting like something was going on in their neighborhood, like their neighborhood was abandoned or there was something, and it was like, oh, once a day he would kind of do like an update, and it was like kind of creepy, but it was like a once a day thing for a while, and you were like, is this real? Is this not real? I'm kind of walking that line. But the thing that no one had done is something that's more like a series. Like some people had done like, here's one really creepy video, and this is what I do on my channel. But it was like, oh, is there like a self-contained multi-part series that happens over the course of a shorter time span that actually feels like it's happening in the platform? Like it feels like, oh, this is not taking something that was made for something else and putting it on TikTok, but it's if someone were to do a horror, if something were to happen to somebody that was a horrific on TikTok and they were to post it, what would that look like? And that's what kind of opened up the conversation about the specifics of Hazel.
You just said, what if something were to happen like a horrific? Like you just made horrific a noun.
Like a horrific thing.
That's what, no, I think that's what this is. Like this is
a horrific.
This is a horrific. It's a terrific horror TikTok.
Well, it's horrific. Horrific talk.
Oh, that's what we're.
It's a horrific talk.
That we're contributing to that genre.
That we've helped
horrific,
pioneer. Horrific
talk.
Horrific talk.
Because it's fiction, TikTok, horror, and fantastic. No,
I'm just putting together horrific and TikTok.
Horrific talk. Yeah, that's good. That works. Well, let's coin it. We got to get better at saying it.
I've got it. Horrific talk. Horrific talk. It's just horrific and then talk. Horrific and then talk.
Horrific talk.
Horrific talk. You can say it that way.
Horrific TikTok.
Horrific talk.
Horrific talk. Horrific talk.
We'll do that on our own time.
Horrific talk.